Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. If you'll remember the last segment, I talked about fifes and flutes, and I talked about the mouthpieces for those instruments, and I mentioned to you that a fife has just a simple hole, nothing built up on either side like the flutes do or the piccolos do, but just a simple hole for a mouthpiece. And I showed you some examples. Well, I decided to bring in my largest fifes, and we call them flutes. They're advertised as flutes when you buy them, but technically they're really fifes. And I want to show them to you. I have two that are very, very large, and I couldn't bring them in. I had too much to carry. So let me begin with that this morning. This is called a walking stick flute. It's quite large, 36, 38 inches long. It really is quite large. And it really plays quite well. The mouthpiece would be this hole. This is what makes it a fife. It is this hole. And I don't know how well you can see it, but there it is. I'm going to hold it up for a minute and maybe we can get an adjustment on how it looks. But just a clear round hole. I mean, it's not shaped in an oblong pattern or anything like that. And it's shaped a little like a walking stick. Yeah, this is great. This is perfect. The mouthpiece, just a plain little hole. And then as I scroll down here, you can see all of the tone holes. They're not all the same size. They are the same. They are one right after the other in a straight line. But they're different sizes to accommodate the size of your fingers. And so if I were to play it, I'm not going to play it right now, because I can't do the finger stretches like I used to. But the finger stretches aren't all that bad. When you get down to here, the length of it is an extension that they put on, and they put it on to make it longer so they could make it into a walking stick. And the air is going to come out of this hole in the back. Well, it goes all the way through. But this hole in the back and in the front, it goes all the way through. That essentially is the end of it. This part is really the end of it, and this is just an extension to make it long enough to be a walking stick. And of course, you do have a tone hole. You don't have a tone hole in the back, so if I turn it over in the back, the only hole you see is this one here where the ear stops. You know, the ear has to go in one direction only if you're going to get a tone. So this here, that acts as a knob for your hand to hold, acts as the cap, so that when you blow into it, right here, the air all goes in one direction, and by the force of your breath, you make the molecules move. It's very, very fun. It's very, very fun to play, and in the end, it's all capped off as well, so the air can't go out there. The air has to go out this particular place, and so the flute part of it actually goes from here to here. That's where it goes. The rest are extensions, and they wanted to say it was a walking stick flute. Now, I can tell you, you would not want to put your weight on it and use it as a walking stick because it's hollow. It's hollow, and if it were hollow, you're not going to be able to, you could put too much weight on it and you could break it. If it was solid, you could do it. You could put your weight on it, but it's not solid, because if it was solid, you wouldn't be able to play it. I remember playing it in an orchestra in Massachusetts, and I didn't have anyone to one side, so I did it as kind of a joke. And I held it up, and I started playing it. Well, this is the way you would do it. You'd blow across it like you do a flute, and you'd finger it like this, and the extension just sticks out. Now, I heard somebody yell out, "She's playing her cane." And it does look a little bit like a cane, doesn't it? I love this instrument. It's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun showing it to people. They've had a lot of fun looking at it. Most people have never seen one. So I have instruments that I bring in just for the fun of it, because no one has ever seen it. Now, I have a walking stick flute that's even bigger than that, than this one, and I brought this in also. It's going to be hard to see it. It is quite large, but I will show it to you. And this is it. The whole thing from top to bottom. very, very, very long. And it's interesting because on the top of this, and I'm not sure if I can get you to see it or not, because I don't want to poke anything with it, but there's a compass on one end. And the reason that there's a compass there is that it's supposed to be used when you're walking in the woods. And when you're walking in the woods, you can see the compass. You can use the compass for direction. There it is. Thank you very much. That is perfect. It's workable. It's a workable compass. Excuse me. And see, I'm going to have to take a drink. So if you'll excuse me for a moment, I'll just hold this up. Allergy season, dry air. Here again, you have your top where you blow is right here. And then below that, this is bamboo, by the way, and it's stained, so it's a little hard to see it. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much. That's perfect. And then as you move down, you can see the places where you have your tone holes for your hands. And then the extension goes down even further than that. But here again, you do not want to put your full weight on it or you could break it because it's not solid, so you can play it. Okay, and I have a lot of fun with this as well, but it is very, very tall. And you can use it as a walking stick, except don't put your weight on it. You can play it, that's what it's meant for, made out of bamboo. I had 2 of these. I got 2 of them because the company that I got it from made a mistake in my first order, and so they sent me an extra one, and they said, just keep it. So I did. But that first one that I got split right down the middle. Now, I've said before that bamboo is very easy to split, and it's split all the way down. And so I actually had to toss it. I never toss instruments away, but it was so wide, there was no repairing it. This one, made the same way, however, has held its shape. I've had it for years, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So there it is. And it is a fife. It's called a flute, and it is a fife because that first, where you blow in, is a perfectly round hole. It's not built up or anything like that. Now, let me put this to one side. Also not the lightest weight of anything I've ever held. If you look at the flute piccolo picture that I have here, you can see this is one of my piccolos. I mean, this is a Gemeinhardt German piccolo, and it belongs to me. And I took it to a photocopy place, and I photocopied it. And if you look at the top of it, you can see the mouthpiece and how it's built up around the mouthpiece. It's a hole, yes, but it's more oblong in shape, and it has this whole area around here where it is built up. And I have also that I brought with me, and I bring it in occasionally because it is a fife, but it's designed to look like a flute. It has this area that is built up around it, so it's meant to look like a flute in that regard. It plays more like a fife, and it's a metal piece, but that's the way it is. It's built up. You need to know that because there's a difference. Thank you very much. That's perfect. You see that? There is a difference between flutes and fifes. The mouthpiece looks like a fife mouthpiece, but it's built up around. And the flutes and the piccolos are all that way, so I needed to show them to you. Now, the instruments, the recorders, are in the key of F or in the key of C. So what I want to do now, I've brought samples of all of the recorders, except for the great basses. I don't have a great bass because they cost thousands of dollars. They're wonderful, but there's no way I can afford it. And I'm just going to go step by step by step and describe these instruments a little bit, how long they are, what they can do, what they're used for, so you can see. And then I'm going to describe to you the fact they would be in the key of F or they would be in the key of C. So we'll just go step by step. This is the smallest one that's used for concert work or playing in orchestras. It's called a sopranino. It has a very high pitch. I've played it before just so you can see it. There's a very high pitch, but that's the way it is. It's very small. And you know, the smaller it is, the smaller the tube, the higher the pitch. It's sopranino and is in the key of F. And this one happens to be a Yamaha. A lot of my instruments are Yamahas. I've never had a Yamaha fail. They've always been very good, so I choose them a lot. Then you have the C melody recorder, which is what I usually play in here. It's in the key of C. Now, there's a good reason for me to stick with the C melody recorder when I teach. It's terrific for a lot of reasons. For one thing, it is in the key of C, and it blends in with all other instruments that are also in the key of C, and there are a group of them. It is easier in terms of hand stretches, more natural in terms of hand stretches. You don't have to stretch your hands to play it. You can play it in any key. That is, if you're playing in a C and you get some music, no matter what the key of the music is, you can work with it to play it, because it's just the way C instruments are. You know, if I play an E-flat alto saxophone, everything I play is going to be as if it was an E-flat. Not all the music is going to be an E-flat. So that means I have to transpose in order to get the music that I play to match what everybody else is playing. So this is a C melody, and it's called sometimes a descant. It's a very nice instrument. It's easier to learn. It fits in with all kinds of instruments. It's in the same key as the flutes. The flutes are in the key of C. There are other instruments in the key of C. It just blends very well. You can learn all kinds of mechanics about music, things about how music is structured. You can take a piece of music. You don't have to transpose it to play it, because you're going to be in the music as it was written. If you play in another key, you're going to have to do some transposing. So anyway, the key of C. And this is an alto. The alto is about 18 inches long. For a lot of people, it's their favorite instruments, and I love it myself. About 18 inches long. It's in the key of F. It has a wonderful tone, and it blends in well, and so it's a good thing to learn how to play it. But I'm going to tell you something about the F instruments that are in the key of F, and that's going to be the sopranino, and it's going to be the bass, and it's going to be the alto. Those have a different fingering pattern than what the C melodies do, and so therefore you have a different kind of fingering pattern. It doesn't match up with a lot of what other people are playing, so I stick with the C. But this is the alto. Beautiful tone for a lot of people. As I said before, it's the best of the instruments for them. So that's the alto. Now here's the tenor. The tenor is absolutely gorgeous. It has a voice, and as I played it before, this is also a Yamaha. I have two. I think I have one that's a Casio. These tenors are just, they're in the key of C, so they play very well in the key of C. And it's good to play them. They're hard to play in terms of finger stretches, but they have a beautiful tone. They can be a solo instrument. They can be gorgeous. They are a beautiful instrument. And then you have the bass. The bass is the largest recorder that I have. It's not as big as the great basses, but you're talking, 36 or so inches long. It's a very nice instrument, has a beautiful tone. This is a folded bass because the neck piece of this folds over. Some people think of it as a saxophone, and it's not, of course. So if you play this, you do have keys, and the reason that you have keys is that the fingers, you couldn't stretch your fingers far enough to be able to catch the holes. and this is in the key of F. So you have some instruments in the key of F, and you have some instruments in the key of C. And that's important when you make your choice as what you're going to play. So, because you're going to have to transpose if you're in an F. Let me show you a couple of things here on these charts, just for comparison. Well, first of all, let me take this down, because, well, I'll use it later, I guess. I want to take that out and use it later. I've got some charts here just to show you comparisons of sizes. And some of them I've drawn and some of them I haven't. But just to take a look at the comparison. This would be your sopranino, the smallest, about 9.5 inches. This would be your melody soprano, which people use, and most people, if they're going to play recorded, this is what they play. And that's about 12.5 inches long. This would be the alto, about 18 inches long. And then you get into the tenor, which is about 26 or so. Now, this I drew, it wasn't in here, and I wanted to draw it kind of in the style of the other drawings, and that would be the folded bass in the key of F. And then you have the great basses. I do not have a great bass. It's sometimes called straight basses, great basses, or just plain bass, and they're in the key of C, and they're huge. They're really huge. They're very, very tall. A lot of people stand up to play them, and since they can't reach the top of the instrument, which towers above them, they blow in this bocal. This little piece of metal piece is a bocal. They play in that, blow in that, and the air goes up. The labium is right here, so that acts as a mouthpiece, and then you go all the way down. And there are some keys, they're not in this drawing, but there are some keys, but you can't stretch your hands long enough. So this is where they are: sopranino, soprano, alto, tenor, folded bass, and great bass. These are the ones that are normally used. Now, I do have other sketches of them, which I'm going to just kind of show you. Well, I can. I need to look at my time here. I just magnified some. This is going to be the folded bass, the sopranino, the soprano, and this is going to be the alto, the tenor, and the bass. It's handy to have some of these drawings on hand that you can see. And then this is the one I showed you before, so I'll skip that one, and we'll go on to the next one. And the next one happens to be me playing a tenor. And I want you to pay attention to the size of that tenor, much bigger than what the soprano is. And the thing is, of this tenor, I was doing a concert, a recital with a group of students, and we were doing a Mozart recital. So somebody had this picture of Mozart, the sketch of Mozart. We all had our pictures taken with Mozart that night, but that was the tenor. This is also this is the folded bass. It's folded forward, so you're looking at it front on. And I wanted to show you that there are keys to help you, because the finger stretches, you couldn't use it if they didn't have finger stretches. And this is another drawing that I did of the folded bass. You can see there's a key here, there's a key here, and these two don't have keys. This would be your first, second, and third finger on the right hand. The first, second, and third finger, a place to put your thumb. The tone hole in the back for octaves would be there. This is the neck piece. This is the labium. And this would be the lowest note. That is the great bass. I mean, not the great bass, but this is the folded bass, and it's in the key of F. Now, to show you some other pictures, this is a great bass, and this is an alto. So you can see the comparison of the sizes between the great bass, which is right here. Don't pay any attention to that black mark. I don't even know why it's there. Although many of those great basses have a little stand that they can put in, or maybe that's what it is. So when they stand and put it on the floor, the instrument is not on the floor, but the little stand is, and it doesn't interfere with the tone or anything. But see how huge it is in comparison to the alto. The alto is 18 inches long. I just showed it to you. And so you can see the very great ranges of what these instruments have. Now, let me turn the next page. I have these again, just I'm not going to bother with that. Okay, so I think that's it on these pictures. And these are, it is important to know that the F and the C, they're in a different key. The key of F is, the key of F has one flat in it. And the key of C has no flats and no sharps at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it here for now. We don't have that much time left. And when we start the next segment, I'm going to go into the key that we can play with the recorders and show you how that's constructed and show you how you can tell what keys you're in. So we'll close it for now and continue next time. Please join me then.